Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. So it's time for me to go through again a few of the things that I've been buying just lately, vinyl and CD. I was hoping to bring you some really exciting Beatles news about what's happening, but there isn't really much news to tell unfortunately on that. Apart from something that came from Ringo, this has just come out in the Variety magazine where Ringo's talking about the new song Now and Then, and he confirmed, for the avoidance of doubt, that it is all four of them that appear on this song. George is playing rhythm guitar, so that must have been something that he did in the mid-90s when they were working on the anthology. But Ringo also confirmed that his drum part and Paul's bass part are both pretty new. Ringo said he did his just a few months ago. So there's just little bits of news starting to trickle about that. I'm hoping that sometime, I'm not expecting anything this month, but maybe sort of towards the back end of summer, or maybe sort of September time, we might start to find out something official about what's going on there with the new Beatles release or releases. We shall see. But anyway, I've got a few CDs and vinyl I've been buying over the last few weeks. I'll put some links down below if there's any of this stuff that you're interested in getting. But also, of course, I want to hear your comments as always on any of this. Is it stuff that you've enjoyed? Is it stuff that you hate? Let me know. So I did show back about, I think about Christmas time. I showed that I'd got this on vinyl. This is the latest Tears for Fears album that came out in 2022. Well, I've just managed to pick it up on CD as well now, and this has got I think this has got a bonus track on it as well. It has a bonus track called Secret Location. There's Curtin Rowland there, looking very fine. So I think this was probably my favourite album of 2022. So I thought definitely worthy of me picking up on both CD as well as the vinyl that I'd already had. But I was hoping to go and see them touring this last year. And then the night before the show that I was due to go to, it got cancelled, as did a lot of gigs because Kurt I think he'd broken some ribs. Never did find out how that happened, so that was a shame. Still never managed to see them live, but certainly I would like to go and do that sometime soon. A couple more CDs that I've got here, and then I'll move on to vinyl and a couple of other bits that I've got. This is an album called Ladies Bridge by Richard Hawley. This is quite old, this 2007 this came out. Now Richard Hawley from Sheffield is somebody who I've been listening to sort of on and off for about the last 15 years and enjoyed an awful lot of the music that he's made. He was originally in the Long Pigs back in the 90s, spent a bit of time in Pulp in the early 2000s. But it's really his solo stuff that I've been most interested in, and there's some great songs on here. This Richard Hawley, his music, if I had to describe it, it feels to me like if Buddy Holly had lived and gone on to make other styles of music as he got older, I could imagine a kind of a mature Buddy Holly in the 1990s being very much of a kind of a style of Richard Hawley. That's the best way I've always been able to describe it. But some really great songs on that album. I've known this album for a long time, but only ever owned a dodgy copy of it, so I thought I really ought to pick it up on CD at last. Another one that I've got, really for two songs in particular that I've bought this, the best of Randy Crawford. So there's a lot of great songs on here, don't get me wrong. So, You Might Need Somebody, Street Life, Rainy Night in Georgia, these are all great songs. But the two that I got, again, it's because what I'm trying to do at the moment with the Richard Hawley album, with this and with quite a lot of other things I'm getting, things that I acquired in a naughty fashion 20 years ago when I was first getting into digital music, Napster, I'm trying to get better copies, proper copies of them. I'm trying to buy the actual albums, and I'm trying to get rid of that stuff that I acquired all those years ago. So the two songs that I really wanted from this are One Day I'll Fly Away, I think from 1980, if I remember rightly. Beautiful song, love it. I love the strings on it as well, really great. But I've spoken a couple of times before about just how much of a fan of 1986 in general I am, and one of the big songs for me for towards the back end of that year was Almaz by Randy Crawford. Absolutely beautiful song that I always had on a tape from when I used to press play and record on the top 40 on a Sunday tea time. Just those songs that I particularly wanted to get, and that was always sort of one of my favourites from my sort of back end of 1986 C90 cassette that I had. So really, really nice songs on here. But the start and the end there, One Day I'll Fly Away and Almaz, are the two songs that I really wanted to get hold of on that. I'm going to do a little bit of vinyl now, and then I'm going to come back and show you a few other things. So, I got this a few weeks ago. Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, the new album, Council Skies. So, I've got pretty much everything. Well, I've certainly got everything Oasis ever did. I've got all of Noel's solo albums, and most of other things that weren't on albums I've been able to sort of download. So I've really kept going with Noel's career, and Liam as well, to be fair. And I think probably in the last couple of years, I think Liam's winning the battle at the moment, but I really want to see them together soon, and I'm still pretty hopeful that that'll happen. But have a look at this piece of vinyl. Pretty beautiful. Have a look at that. I think this was described as Corona. I mean, they do come up with some wonderful, weird and wonderful titles for these coloured vinyl records, but that's a really nice looking piece of vinyl, is that. In terms of the album itself, I like it. I don't think it's Noel's best album. It's certainly a little bit more downbeat than a lot of his stuff, but Noel said that he's got another album that he's got planned that's going to be a much rockier album. We'll see how that goes. But despite this being nowhere near my favourite Noel album, there is a particular song on here. Song 3 there, Dead to the World. That is an absolutely gorgeous song. When it kicks into the chorus of Dead to the World, it is beautiful. Really, really like that. That's a nice piece of vinyl. It's not the greatest sounding piece of vinyl I've ever owned, but it's nice. I am enjoying it. And of course I had to get it on CD as well. This CD, if I just be careful that the little hype sticker doesn't fall out, because I don't want to lose that. It's a nice booklet style of CD. Many pages to it. And it's got 2 discs there. So it's got the main album on one disc, and then on the second disc there's quite a few remixes and instrumental versions. So I think probably the most interesting names on here, you've got a Robert Smith from the Cure remix of the song Pretty Boys. Oh, Pretty Boy. Sorry, Pretty Boys was Paul McCartney, wasn't it? McCartney 3. There's a Pet Shop Boys remix. I mean, who'd have thought a Pet Shop Boys remix of a Noel Gallagher song? So there's some Radio 2 sessions as well. There's a Radio 2 live version of Live Forever, for example, on that 2-disc version as well. So I like that. I'll come back to the last piece of vinyl in a moment, because I'm going to move on to these now. So I've been collecting not all of these, but a fair amount of the Super Deluxe Edition physical Blu-rays that they've been doing. They're high-res remixes and new mixes of classic albums. So I've already shown these in the past, but this is just to kind of show the collection that's building up a bit now. There's Concert for George there, which is the full thing. There's nothing missing. It's got the Monty Python stuff, it's got Sam Brown, things that aren't on the normal Concert for George album. So that's really nice. And Bob Dylan's Fragments Time Out of Mind bootleg series, they got the exclusive digital Blu-ray version of that. It's got Atmos mixers, 5.1 mixers, new stereo mixers, that kind of thing. So I'd already shown those, but the 2 new ones that I've got, a few weeks ago this came out, Tubular Bells, Mike Oldfield, which is an album that I'm loving more and more as time goes on. Still not massively grabbed me the second side of it, but the first half, just a magnificent piece of music. So if I show you on here, you'll see all the different variations that this has got. So it's, like I say, it's got Dolby Atmos mixers, 5.1 mixers. It's got a new stereo mix. It's got so David Coston has done a 2023 stereo mix. It's also got the original 1973 stereo mix there, but all in high-res digital. Sounds beautiful. It's got 2023 David Coston stereo mix intro edit and 2017 Tubular Bells 4 intro demo version. So there's some interesting stuff on there. I found, because I don't have, again I've said this before, I don't have 5.1 capability yet, or Atmos capability yet, but I may well do. It's something that I am interested in and I probably will get at some point. And these are sort of buy them now or you're not going to get them things. So I've decided to get them now because I may be able to use them in the future, but I am really enjoying the actual stereo mixers that are on here as well. So I'm certainly getting my money's worth already, even though I've not got the Dolby Atmos and 5.1 capability. So I've done some listening between the 2023 David Coston mix and the original 1973 mix. And for the most part, it's very, very subtle differences. But the more part one, for example, goes on, the louder parts that come in, they've been tamed somewhat, I think, on the new 2023 mix. Sometimes the original mix can overdrive a little bit in places. Sometimes in a good way, it's certainly got impact, but you sometimes feel as though it's maybe sort of gone into the red a little bit on the board, whereas I think the new 2023 mix is a bit more... a little bit more subtle, a little bit more gentle, probably allows you to dial the volume up a little bit and get the full appreciation of that. So I enjoy comparing the two versions. So I've been really enjoying that. The other one that just came a couple of days ago, and again I've been doing some comparisons on this, different versions, is the first album by Suede. So again, this is from Super Deluxe Edition. This is an exclusive from them, in a slipcase, as is the Tubular Bells. I didn't show you the Tubular Bells one either, did I? It comes in a cardboard slipcase like that. This album, while I wouldn't describe it as one of my favourite albums of all time, I would say it's one of the most influential. And now I did a video, I think it was in early lockdown, so it would have been about 3 years ago, just over, where I did my top 10 albums that have shaped my life. Not necessarily my favourites, but the ones that have shaped me, sent me in different directions and had the most effect on me. And this was one of them. This was one of those albums. This was responsible for kind of ushering in the Britpop era for me and for a lot of people as well. And very, very important for me that that's been a big aspect of my musical life. So it's a very important album. So this has got, again, you can't see on the outer cover, but if I go to the inner cover, hopefully you can see here. You can see there that it's got a brand new Steven Wilson 2023 Dolby Atmos mix and 5.1 surround mix. It's got a 2023 Steven Wilson stereo mix, and it's got the original 1993 mix remastered and in full high res. So I've been doing some comparisons here between not only the two stereo versions on here, the stereo of the original and the Steven Wilson remix, but also I've been comparing it to my original 1993 CD that I got probably just about the day it came out, I think in 93, and I've still got that CD. The original album, it's always been quite trebly, I found, but going to the original mix, but the new remaster of it, I thought it had far more mid-range on this now. It's certainly brought out a lot of things in the mid-range that I couldn't really hear very well on the original CD at all. But it's got quite a bit less dynamic range. I fed it into my computer and looked at the waveform. For those of you that are interested in that kind of thing, you'll see that actually it's got quite a lot of limiting on it. So at modest volume levels, and I think probably for car listening as well, this is great. Now you might ask, how can you listen to a Blu-ray in a car? Well, there's ways, there's ways that you can get this music from the Blu-ray disc to regular digital music. So I think for that kind of listening, that would be probably a better bet than the original mix, I think. But I think if you're going to crank it up really loud, you probably want to go to the new Steven Wilson remix. I think that the vocals sometimes in the new Steven Wilson remix I found were a little bit further back in the mix than maybe I'd have liked. But there's a lot more dynamic range there, and I think it's going to cope well in a quiet setting if you're able to really crank the volume up. I think the 2023 Steven Wilson remix will really sort of come to the fore. So I'm going to continue playing the various versions of this, just because it's an album that I love anyway, but getting to sort of know the subtleties of these different versions is something that I always quite enjoy. So I'm going to go to another piece of vinyl now. This is something that I'd been wanting for a long time. Let me just get the outer slipcase just to show you that this is a music on vinyl. So good quality, about as good quality certainly as you're ever going to get for this album, The Wicker Man. The soundtrack album to the 1973 film starring Christopher Lee, Edward Woodward, Britt Eklund, various others. One of my favourite films of all time. I absolutely adore this film. Ever since I was introduced to it about 20 years ago, I've toured the locations up in Scotland. I'm fairly obsessed with this film. So I've had the CD for years, but getting it finally on vinyl was something that I've always been wanting to do, and it came at a good price. The first side of this is the actual songs from the film. If you don't know the film, just try and get a chance to watch it. It's available on streaming. It's absolutely brilliant. You've never seen a film like this before. It is as horrendously awful as the what's his name, Nicolas Cage version is, that must never be spoken about. This is the complete opposite. This is brilliant, and you'll never see a film like it. I'm pretty sure of that. So the first side is all the main songs from the film, and then the second side is more kind of incidental music. So it's on black vinyl with a nice inner there. It also comes with a poster. The one thing with this album, the track listing has always a little bit annoyed me. Sorry, it's not a poster. It's a proper inner sleeve for the record, which is nice. It's got some stills from the film there. The track listing's always a little bit annoyed me on that album because it doesn't really go massively in order of the film, so things sort of appear in weird places on the album. So having this has really prompted me to go and put together a digital playlist that's proper chronological order, and I've even brought in some sort of sound clips from the film as well, just because I'm that obsessed with this film. That I've brought in I've got about an hour's worth of material in this playlist of a Wicker Man soundtrack. So really happy to pick this up at last on vinyl. So that's what I've been buying just lately. Have you got any of this stuff? Let me know your thoughts on it down below. Like I say, I'll put some links to those things that are still available down below if it's anything that you're interested in. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers. Bye.